Yes, I cheated. I cheated one time, and it was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. There is no excuse for cheating, so I'm not going to give you one. It was messed up, and I was sick in the head. Rylee and I healed, and a few months later, we went on a break, and during that break, I got with someone at a party, and a bunch of UO students saw, and that's where all the cheating rumors started.
Didn't want to have to, like, post about this breakup, but because of the way that it ended, I just don't want anyone else to get hurt the way that I did.
My goal with this video is not to victimize myself or attack Sofia. However, the accusations being made against me are not accurate.
Hi everyone, it's me again, and Squish Gang is present, and we are not sick anymore. So today we're going to be talking about the recent events on what TikTok has deemed to be lesbian TikTok. And I'm saying that in the sense of when you're looking at the hashtags in the videos, it says hashtag lesbian TikTok, hence the title of this video as well. We're not talking about like LGBTQ rights or anything like that. This is kind of like the gossip end of TikTok regarding a couple of the two relationships that you saw in the opening sequence of this video. I do want to say we do need some massive trigger warnings for this video. This is a quite heavy topic. So trigger warning of conversations around SA, cheating, toxic relationships, manipulation, and also public discourse around these topics as well. We're going to be talking about as well the way that drama so-called like moves on TikTok and the problematic nature of the creators involved, but as well as the conversations that are going on with the audiences. Before we get into that, links, sources, Amazon, Patreon, want to support the channel, that will all be linked down below, as well as what is on my face and any links of affiliations that I have. Also, my socials will be there, and an email if you do want to suggest content. I'll also put it on the screen today because a lot of people will be asking me. I read all of the emails and then I don't reply to them because I forget. So just know that. But if you DM me, I'll reply to those because those are easier for me. But yeah, I'm just saying, I'm reading the emails for those of you who are asking. Thank you to my iconic Patreon besties. The names are on screen. Lately, I've seen this hashtag appearing on TikTok. It says like hashtag lesbian TikTok at the bottom of the videos. But then it's all these people speculating about these relationships, and particularly the ones where it's what we're just doing too, because I don't know the whole ordeal with what's going on, like on the entire lesbian TikTok end of TikTok. It's particularly with the relationships between Sedona Prince and their ex-girlfriend Rylee, and Brooklynne and Sofia Gomez are the two relationships that I've seen a lot of. It started as like some seemingly like light gossip and opinions regarding like the Sedona Prince and Rylee situation, because that was sooner. And then it got really heavy all of a sudden. And then there was like all of these crazy videos going on. And then when he got to Brooklynne and Sofia, the topic switched and got very, very serious with conversations of SA and stuff like that. It was the way that I saw people talking about it I also want to talk about today, because people seem to have a difficulty with separating the fact that a lot of these are teenage relationships, which tend to be dramatic and messy. The ability for rehabilitation or the ability to grow from these situations, like these are the times that you do that, but then they're being treated like the conversations I find are a bit too heavy in requiring a very in-depth and complex level of maturity from people who don't have that. So that's a bit of the discourse I want to talk about. We'll get into in the third part, because there's 3 parts of the video, like always, for those of you who are frequenting the channel. So part 1 is going to be Sedona and Rylee. We're going to talk about young relationship dynamics with that. We're going to talk about Brooklynne and Sofia Gomez and the weight of handling allegations online. And then part 3 is kind of just the contrast, rhetoric, precedences, and stuff like that. So we get right into part 1 with Sedona and Rylee. I'm also going to give you guys a lowdown of what I think happened. And for those of you that are like, well, Mika, you didn't research the videos, blah, blah, blah. It's because like so much stuff gets deleted very, very quickly. And it's on so many different platforms. And there were so many different opinions. And I try not to get these types of situations through other people's conversations, because opinion being put into something will shift the perception that you're viewing it in. That's why like when I'm researching, I'm trying to find original sources only, which made this a bit difficult. Also because if you look up the video for this, there's not really anything else. As far as YouTube commentary goes, I seem to be one of the first people bringing it to this platform. So If there's anything missing, feel free to fill me in the comments. I know I have a couple friends that like are really aware of what's going on. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Anywho's, so for those of you who do not know who Sedona Prince is, obviously I'll put a picture as well. Sedona Prince is somebody who became, and also they're a non-binary, so that's why it is they them for Sedona. And if I make a mistake, if I slip, that's my bad. And I know that technically, if I recall, would not make it a lesbian relationship, rather just a queer relationship. Maybe I'm not really sure how to define that, but this is like how TikTok set it up. So, and I think Sedona has stated that they considered it a lesbian relationship as well, but to each they will. So Sedona became infamous for posting the difference between the workout facilities and the gifts and stuff from the NCAA March Madness for women's basketball and men's basketball. And they became really popular online, and then they even got like interviews on news platforms and stuff like that, and has actually kind of seemed to have sparked a general improvement for the women's basketball team in the NCAA. Because of the movement that Sedona had started, they had pretty good respect on the platform. People really seemed to like them. And they eventually got into a relationship after their career took off. The relationship was with a girl named Rylee. Now, I mentioned that Sedona plays NCAA basketball. Sedona is 6'7", which, if I remember in metric, that is just shy, or just a tiny bit over 2 meters tall. And they had their girlfriend named Rylee, and Rylee is 4'11", or 149 centimeters tall. So a lot of discourse on TikTok had just begun with the size difference of them, and some weird conversations about fetishizing Rylee because of her height, like as if it was like some sort of like weird thing to date someone way shorter than you. Like, I don't know, like these height differences are not necessarily super uncommon. While obviously Sedona is like probably in like the 99th percentile for, you know, female height or whatever. I don't think it's anything to be like, that's where I started seeing, I was like, this is weird. Why is this happening? Like, are you going to fetishize my relationship because my boyfriend is 6'4", which would be about, I think, 1.89 meters, and I'm 5'4" at around 1.6 meters, I think. In Canada, we still do the heights in feet and inches most of the time, so I'm trying to do the metric conversion in my head, but like I'm not very good at it. But like their relationship was getting dogged on pretty early, just on simple like weird comments about fetishization that I thought were kind of off base, because I don't think that's necessarily like relevant. But alas, take with that what you may. So the two dated for long distance for I think around a year. Apparently they had had a break at one point, and Sedona had mentioned at one point getting to know Rylee while she was in another relationship with somebody else. They very quickly became in a relationship right after Rylee broke up with their significant other. And Sedona is currently 22 years old and Rylee is 21 years old. So they're actually about the same age. That's not the case for Brooklynne and Sofia, but we'll get into that later. So then once they moved in together, the relationship quickly ended and it was very abrupt. And to a confused general audience, because everyone was like, what happened? Like, you guys were always like so in love, and there was all these TikToks. They think they had a joint account as well. I don't remember because I couldn't find it because I don't remember what it's called. If that was true, besties, in the comments, please. Thank you. Then they made a TikTok that the breakup was mutual. They seemed to be on decent terms. So that was, everyone was like, I don't believe in love anymore. You know, same. I felt that. I was like, girl, what? And then it started to come out that Sedona had cheated on Rylee, allegedly twice. The TikTok at the very beginning was Sedona clearing up, maybe, that it was once because the other time they were technically on a break or something like that.
All right, this is getting out of hand, so I'm just going to address it. I really didn't want to, but it's my fault. I posted a Snapchat last night angry, and I shouldn't have. That was stupid and dramatic. But in doing so, Rylee commented, because she saw it, got upset. She commented and that opened the floodgates, and there's no context. You guys have no idea anything, so let me at least give you some peace of mind. Also, ignore my puffy eyes. I've been crying for the past, 3 days. Yes, I cheated. I cheated one time, and it was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. There is no excuse for cheating, so I'm not going to give you one. It was messed up, and I was sick in the head. Rylee and I healed, and a few months later we went on a break, and during that break I got with someone at a party, and a bunch of UO students saw, and that's where all the cheating rumors started. Since we technically were together, I don't categorize it as cheating, but regardless, there's no excuse. It was really messed up of me to do, and I deeply, deeply, deeply still regret it to this day. We should have broken up, absolutely, but we didn't. We stayed together, we wanted to heal, and in doing so, we became super healthy, happy, and we had moved past it. And then around my birthday, I had figured out that Rylee had been cheating on me with someone that she had been friends with since the beginning of our relationship. It broke me in half. I lost myself for a really long time, but I forgave her because she forgave me, and I moved past it. I never brought it up, and we moved in together, and that was it. Our love was beautiful, but when we say it was a mutual breakup, it doesn't have to technically be a healthy mutual breakup. It can be mutually agreed that we are not good for each other at all. I posted that Snapchat last night because I am so heartbroken that Rylee has became friends again with the person that she cheated on me with, and is I don't know if they're going to pursue something, but that really makes me sad. To me, it just shows that she had no remorse for what she did, and she doesn't feel really bad, but it's her life, her journey, and I wish her nothing but the best. So I posted that, and I shouldn't have, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause drama, but I'm just so sad how she's taking this breakup, and I just want this to be over. Please don't send hate to Rylee, just here's the information that you guys have fucking wanted. I didn't want to do this, but I started it, and now I'm going to end it. So that's it. Leave me alone. Stop yelling at me in person. Stop being rude. Just forget it. I'm going to post basketball content because that's what I love to post, and Rylee will post fashion content, and we will go our separate ways and probably never talk again. So bye, guys.
So then, yeah, Sedona made that TikTok responding, but then really quickly deleted it. Sedona, the issue, I think one of the main issues with this whole debacle is that they've been doing a lot of posting and deleting, and they had made comments either on Snapchat or on one of Rylee's TikToks or both, again, because I can't find anything because it's all deleted. But I saw it happen in real time, so I guess take what I'm saying with a grain of salt if you don't want to believe me because I don't have receipts. But had claimed that Rylee had cheated on them, but then Rylee had commented somewhere also that Sedona had cheated on them. So there was a whole, like, all these comments and, like, weird, like, niche places to find everything. That's what I'm telling y'all. Like, the TikTok people be digging. Sedona had responded that Rylee cheated on them with their ex. And if I remember correctly, the same ex that Rylee abruptly broke up with to date Sedona. Maybe not to date Sedona, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a very quick transition. That I find, as I mentioned with the fetishization of height comments, the TikTok devolved this one to a weird extent. I find with things like relationship dynamics and the like so-called cheating in a relationship like this that seem to be super confusing and on and off and almost like a revenge thing, I don't think people should be demanding answers for this and demanding some sort of moral growth immediately. And we demand an apology because it's like, so I've been talking about that. I've talked about Gabby Hanna and Jessie Smiles as an example I want to bring up where people say like, well, why are they bringing it online? Or Gus Johnson and Aibileen Sabrina. People will always comment to me, you got to bring it online. These are different circumstances because when there's severity of intensive abuse, illnesses, and consistent online slandering, that's going to be a different story. So if we're going to be talking, if we're talking about Gabby Hanna and Jessie Smiles, it's like, first off, there was a full-on assault that occurred, and there was public affiliation, right? So these were things that it was all a public moment, right? And in regards to Sabrina, it was a lot of like questions, and it was just seeing this person who outwardly harms people and almost contributed to something that could have ended her life being praised in this way. Now, people are going to argue that with Sedona and Rylee, it's the same. Well, first off, ignoring a pregnancy to the point of almost death and cheating kind of in an on and off relationship when you're 20 are two very different things. And I think the comments and the dislikes and stuff are going to be really rough on this video because the internet lacks nuance. And all I'm trying to do here is bring nuance to the situation. And that doesn't always respond well, especially because you're not interacting with me in person. So I can't interject the pieces required that you in particular, the specific viewer watching this, would be confused about. But I think cheating in your early 20s, and also I haven't cheated in my relationships before somebody starts to accuse me of that. You're forgiving cheating because you've done. No, I have not. It's literally just like, I feel like you shouldn't be berating people online and creating like this whole sector of the internet to speculate on a messy relationship of two kids. There's obviously the comment that everybody under the sun says, your brain's not fully developed till you're 25. That, but also the rapid life shifts and differences that happen, but the way the social media demands your attention and demands your life story. Because like celebrities do this all the time, you know? And I know like the only one that really be getting the flack is like Tristan Thompson or whatever. But there's like tons of celebrities in there. But because people don't have the access to them in the way that they do on like social media, they almost like pull too deep into these people's lives. And as long as Sedona and Rylee are managing this offline or even online, but together, like 2 videos to each other, I guess, technically, that's what's owed. They owe each other explanations and apologies and, you know, some sort of like way to get along with each other. They owe each other that. They don't owe us that because it's just a mess that they've kind of created. And you have to realize too that they were a pandemic relationship. These dynamics are very different. Online relationships can be messy and people don't really see, like, you don't really know who you're with in the same way as normal, right? Because you're not interacting with life in the same way that you were before. And there were so many rapid changes and crazy dynamics and all of these different things that are going to kind of convolute the dynamic between the 2 people. So that's how I feel about Sedona and Rylee. Like, were they both like doing bad things? Oh my God, yes. And should we like praise those actions? Not at all. But I think the extent that things have gone to is confusing me a little bit, but maybe I'm just old. Because like the TikTok girl, well, even that, like Sedona and I are the same age. So it's like, I don't know. That's how I feel about that because I feel like people will demand so much so quickly from things that even mistakes that they've arguably made themselves, I would imagine. We'll get into like morality and audience dynamics when we talk about the rhetoric section, but that will clear it up a little bit more there. So skip, if you want to just do Sedona and Rylee, skip to the 3rd part of the video and I do a little bit of a reading and we can discuss that whole thing. Also, obviously, if I'm wrong, you disagree with me, like in the comments, that's perfectly fine. Like this video is more of a like opinion-y type thing rather than a concrete deep dive analysis like something like my Def Noodles video was. So now we get to part 2 with Brooklynne and Sofia. So this situation, way more serious, completely different dynamic here. And this is where pretty much all of the trigger warnings are coming from. So I want to start too where these 2 are both quite young and the relationship seemed like it was quite rapid and intense. So Sofia Gomez is 20 years old and Brooklynne Webb is recently 18 years old. So that's one thing to start with. Is there's a bit of a difference in the ages here. Well, it's only 2 years. 2 years when you're young like that. A little bit interesting. I was actually just shocked because I thought they were both like 17. Like, I'm just surprised that I didn't think Brooklynne was as old as she was, but that's just like me not knowing anything. I'm not super comfortable going through the exact details of the breakup, but essentially what had happened was allegedly Sofia and Brooklynne were in a bed together, and then I think Brooklynne was intoxicated. I'll put the video in too, but I'm trying to summarize. And then Brooklynne tried to like inappropriately touch Sofia in bed, and then Sofia kept saying no, and then they broke up quickly after that.
Hi. I know a lot of you have been wanting an explanation on what's been going on the past few days. And it's just like so hard to talk about. I really didn't want to have to like post about this breakup, but because of the way that it ended, I just don't want anyone else to get hurt the way that I did, because that's just not cool. Brooklynne did multiple times in one night tried to do things with me while I told her no and stop, and that I just wanted to sleep. And then I broke up with her a few days later when I realized what had happened. So, and for everyone who's worried about me, thank you. I have really good friends surrounding me, so I think I'll be fine. I'm talking to my therapist, so that's good. I've just seen it happen before, where something happens to someone and they don't say anything, and the pattern continues, and I don't want to be the reason for that to happen to someone else. I know it wouldn't be my fault.
When I'm saying like allegedly and stuff, it's not because I don't believe Sofia or anything like that. It's just because, like, again, this is not my life and my events, and everything is very confusing, and we'll see that as we go through the comments. Because so first, I'll put in Brooklynne's video, and I'll read the comments. I screenshot some of the comments of kind of the atmosphere of her comment section. So one screenshot are comments like, I feel really bad. I'm so sorry. I'm obviously looking at them directly. I'm so sorry this happened. We're all proud of you for speaking up. And then someone just commented, lol, which is kind of gross. And then I hope you have a peaceful healing process. I have another screenshot that says, I'm never going to ignore an SA claim because that's just something you don't play with, but this is weird. When I was telling my family about my SA, I could barely effing breathe because I was so messed up. Then someone said, girl, what? And the crying emoji. And then someone said, yeah, with 3 dots. I'm also putting the screenshots in right there, as you can see. And then another one is, so proud of you for telling us. I wish you well. Yeah, I believe Brooklynne. What? OMG. I'm so sorry this happened to you. So you see that there's a huge, like, bounce around, right? It's very unclear. So then this was a video posted on August 23rd. So then on August 27th, Brooklynne made a response video to the allegations that Sofia had made, stating that it was a mistake and that she tried to reconcile.
Before you watch this video, I wanted to put a content and trigger warning for sexual assault. Hi guys, so first of all, this is an extremely serious situation with accusations that I do not take lightly. My goal with this video is not to victimize myself or attack Sofia. However, the accusations being made against me are not accurate. On the morning of Sunday, August 14th, we had just gone back to my apartment from a small get-together with a few of our friends when me and Sofia were both being affectionate with each other. Then she went into her bag and pulled out an adult toy that she had consensually brought. We were in a consensual romantic as well as sexual relationship, and I did not touch Sofia with the toy. Once we got back, we were continuing to be affectionate when Sofia said, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep, and after that, I kept to myself and did not touch her. Sofia did not communicate with me that I'd ever made her feel uncomfortable, and we continued to see each other like usual until she called me on the night of Sunday, August 21st. On this call, she broke up with me over the phone and explained how I made her feel uncomfortable, which I instantly apologized for because I would never, ever want to make someone feel that way, and we have not communicated since. I'm sorry it took me quite a few days to address this, but not only was this the end of our relationship, but also my first breakup. Before I was even able to process what had happened, it was already all over the internet. And these are extremely, extremely serious allegations, and I wanted to make sure that anything I was putting online was not an emotional reaction. Beyond this video, I will not be making any further comments while I deal with this situation privately, and I ask that you please do not send Sofia any hate because this is a difficult and challenging time for both of us, and no one ever, ever, ever deserves that. Sexual assault is something absolutely devastating that no one should have to go through, but I can promise you that you are not alone. I've attached resources in my caption as well as my bio for anyone who needs it.
So here are some of the comments of Brooklynne's TikTok. So it says, what's happening? I'm so confused. This was handled amazingly. She took the time to react alone so she could react calmly and not with emotions. This is something that I dislike. This idea that if you are reacting with emotion in anything, that means that you're lying. I don't know what drove this idea of emotionless response to traumatic situations, but that's not, there is, the book, the Rhetoric book talks about this beautifully also. There is no outright correct moral direction or emotional regulation direction in these types of conversations. I think the weird internet commentary genre boom of 2016 with all these like big logical commentary men kind of made people devolve into this like emotionalist state and demanding stability and consistency to situations that don't garner that kind of response. So when I see comments like this, it's like, oh, you have no emotions, so you're not lying. I think it's ridiculous. For example, my name is Blue Cheeseburger Square, and I live at 123 Blue Cheese Lane, and there is currently a pizza on my roof that was thrown there, and my son keeps looking at it. Okay, so do you see how that was like a nonsense sentence, but I could have that stability and that tone, but then I can be animated and say, you know, my name is Mika and I go to school and I do this and I have a channel and I have a Squishmallow pile and everything's great and everything's good, right? I can have these different reactions, different animated or non-animated ways of approaching things. And it doesn't mean that one is true and one is not, right? Like, I want people to step, like, if you're going to take one thing from this video is like sitting like this and being like, I have had a severe lapse in my judgment versus like sitting like this or being jittery or whatever doesn't make one of them true and one of them not true. And this like pseudoscience of body language and stuff might be what's messed people up. But when I'm anxious, I'm a talker. But it doesn't mean I'm lying. It just means that the situation is tense and I'm not liking that it's tense. You're right. That means nothing. I just really don't like comments like that. I think it's just a miscommunication. I'm very sorry for you both. Aw, with a sad face. I'm so confused. I don't know, man. I don't know who to believe. It seems like miscommunication. Someone just tagging some people. I'll get rid of that one. Girl, I believe you. I'm so confused. I don't know anymore what is happening. That seems to be. So Brooklynne's video, because I guess of the difference of the response, the difference of the tone, the difference of the approach, really spiraled people into confusion. But now I'm going to play 2 TikToks that back to back that seem to be the general like video audience reaction that I've seen. And I'll explain what my issues with those are.
I was not going to make a video about the situation with Brooklynne and Sofia because I feel like it's none of my fucking business. But after Brooklynne's video, I feel like I should. I have been the person before who did not believe the victim. And it deeply, deeply damaged a relationship in my life that is incredibly important to me. Y'all believed Sofia until the fucking second that Brooklynne put out a video that was so obviously rehearsed and composed. Because you didn't actually believe Sofia. You were just waiting until your favorite creator put out a response video so you could say, oh, I think she's telling the truth, no matter how she actually seems in the video. And for the record, I don't think she's telling the truth. I think she's a good fucking liar. But even if she is telling the truth, I'd just like to ask you who you'd rather be supporting, a girl who misunderstood a sexual advance or a sexual assaulter. It's your choice.
Hi. I know a lot of you have been wanting.
So, I'm going to be addressing a situation. I don't know why my phone's sideways. Hang on a second. I'm going to be addressing the Sofia and Brooklynne situation, and I'm going to try to make it short and sweet into a 3-minute video. I went and I watched Brooklynne's situation video, and then I went and watched Sofia's explanation video. And I want to start off by saying this. I'm a little investigator. I used to watch crime shows as a kid and used to investigate them in like less than 10 minutes and was right every single time. Not saying that that makes me right in this situation. I'm just saying I can read people's faces and I can read people when they're lying. When you stutter and you seem to not have all the answers or all the details, or you're stuttering to get it out, or you're looking around different directions, you're not looking because you're distraught or you're stressed or you're broken or you're sad. It's because you're trying to find the words to say, like I am right now, to make the video sound where I need to sound. But you're trying to find the words to say to make it sound good so people will believe you. Because if I tell someone to look dead at me when they're trying to tell me something and they can't look at me, then they're lying. And 95% of that video, she was not looking dead at the camera. Second of all, the Brooklynne video. The whole entire time that Brooklynne was recording, she looked dead at the camera, was 100% straight-faced, and even smiled and apologized and said, I'm sorry, I did not mean to make her uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. There's been a lot of times when my own husband's laying beside me and I've made him uncomfortable and I have to apologize. But if Brooklynne was doing something or had done something or touched her the wrong way in the middle of the night and Sofia did not wake her up and tell her or communicate with her, then it's her own fault. How is someone going to know? And I tell my husband this all the time. How is someone going to know when something's bothering you if you don't tell them? Because expecting them to know is just not going to help the situation. I think there's more to the story here. I personally think that maybe they got in a bit of a disagreement, a big argument. Maybe Brooklynne didn't like something that Sofia did or vice versa. And I think they got into a big disagreement. And I think that Sofia wanted clout from the situation. I don't think that Sofia is a bad person. I just think in this instance that Brooklynne is innocent. And I don't go with the whole, I believe the victim all the time, because there's been a lot of times when men and other women are innocent to the situation and it gets proved, but then it's too late. So they have to deal with the situation and go through the time.
So the internet has this habit of sleuthing into these very private matters. And the reason these statements are made so frequently nowadays, despite maybe 1, not being our business, 2, not being warranted, and or 3, being at a time too quick to actually legitimately process things, is this parasocial dynamic between the audience and the individual. And because, quote unquote, the audience gives them the career, that people feel like they have a right to these very tense situations that they truly aren't owed anything for. And it's like as soon as people aren't together anymore, there's these questions immediately. What happened? What happened? What happened? And then you have to almost like trauma dump online about something. But then if you react emotionally to quite literally trauma dumping or just the process of trauma dumping, you'll be ridiculed for it. And it really makes no sense because we're not owed shit. Okay? We're not owed anything. I don't understand. Because the thing is too, in these comments can be like, who do you believe? It's like, it's none of my fucking business. It's because it's none of my goddamn business. And because people are going to comment, well, you're commenting on it, you're doing this. No, it's because I want to discuss the atmosphere of commenting on these things. Because, like, we don't know the events, we don't know the intentions. And the education and comprehension of consent, unfortunately, is not where it needs to be. So with kids and really young people, like teenagers like this, sometimes situations can end up where there can be like fear and anxiety and no intention of anything. And then they have to reconcile. They need to go to therapy. They need to go to some sort of management. The partner or ex-partner in this case might need to also manage trauma and do all these things. But we're not owed a concrete explanation to these things, especially because this wasn't brought online because of seeing something or some sort of public action happening. It's because of feeling like there's a difference between somebody like Sabrina's video on Gus Johnson, where it was, she felt like it was a time to bring a story up and it had been a really long time and she had processed it, gone to therapy, gone to doctors, all that kind of stuff. This is where my opinion and my own sleuthing, I guess, comes in. It feels like it was done because they felt like they owed answers to people. And that's that huge difference that I feel like just makes this so gross. Is when you have to report on something that you felt like, in the case of Brooklynne, which I'm not confirming or denying, again, not my business, as sexual assault, to have to come forward like they owe them something. And then thus having to process this publicly, like the comments are up and everything, right? Even me, internet news leaves no room for the nuance for this. And I feel like just me being like, I don't know what we're actually owed. I have a feeling that I'm going to be called like an apologist. And I'm not doing that. And I'm not trying to do that at all. I just feel so bad for these kids. I really do. Because like, if everyone I knew, like, let's say in high school, and their relationships were reported on online like this to like millions of people, I haven't had relationships that are messy like this, but even then there's lies that come up and there's, miscommunications that come up for, how I perceive people or who I was friends with or whatever. And it's like, if these types of events that have happened in my teen years or whatever, or anybody's teen years, got caught up into an internet drama and misconstrued and had an audience input that was neither right or incorrect or anything, that could just spiral things out of control. We'll get into part 3, which is the contrast and precedents. So I want to begin with a comment that I just made about the discourse with situations. Again, I have to reiterate that I'm not excusing something, and I feel like that's going to be an assumption. And if that assumption comes through, that's showing the internet's reaction to these things. And obviously, of course, it is my job as the Rhetor, or the person creating the dialectic, so the person who's creating this conversation, to clarify as much as possible. That's why I'm repeating this. It's not because I'm trying to hide something or anything like that. I'm literally just want to make that as clear as humanly possible. I think also the reason why people feel like they can ask of these clarifications from people to the extent that they do, I think is because of like the toxic relationship depictions in young media right now. I'm thinking like those teen drama movies on Netflix and how they're kind of messy relationships, and then they, have this big comeback arc or something, or even things like Euphoria where there's a lot of abuse and issues that come up, but it's kind of glamorized in this way of gaining wealth or notoriety, right? But to glamorize toxic dynamics and then be perpetually online results in these almost fantasies, but then also demanding reconciliation on behalf of an audience, which is very strange. So if we do a little reading from this is the Landmark Essays of Rhetoric. I'll link it below. It's not affiliate. I don't do any affiliated links with the books because I just want you to be able to want to read them or want to buy them, like without any sort of like attachment to any income for me or anything like that. Just so there's like a clear conscience if you do want to read these, because I just like recommending literature in general. But here's a paragraph I want to read. This is from the essay Rhetorical Conversation, Time, and Moral Action by Thomas S. Frentz. Yet rhetoric, as Aristotle envisioned it, is often inadequate for confronting the moral dilemmas of modern societies. Where once agents could be presumed to share a common social knowledge from which moral action might emanate, that presumption has become all but unattainable in an age of increased specialization and the concomitant proliferation of technical knowledge. Wow. That was words. That was, oh my God. Moreover, the progressive separation of rhetorical audiences from advocates has largely eliminated the audiences as the efficient cause of rhetoric, those who judge. In its place, we often find a pre-packaged spectacle, which, when ingested by an apathetic public, creates the illusion of a moral involvement in public decision-making. But perhaps the most damaging blow to the classical rhetorical tradition is described by McIntyre himself. For as practice which led to moral defensible action, Aristotelian rhetoric presumed moral agents who possessed a sense of their own individual moral histories, as well as an awareness of how particular choices extended the impersonal teleology of Greek moral tradition. These presuppositions is precisely what McIntyre denies is possible in liberal individualistic conceptions of morality. Put somewhat differently, any contemporary approach to rhetoric which attempts to preserve Aristotelian roots of art must do so with full realization that modern rhetorical advocates and audiences have lost their sense of individual moral coherence and teleological ground in moral tradition. Now, that was a lot of big words. This one's a little heavy in jargon compared to the things I normally read, but this one was the best kind of clarifying situation of everything. So let's start let's start from the top, and we'll clarify some things here. So when we're talking about Aristotelian rhetoric, that's just Aristotle's rhetoric, right? That's the basis of everything. So back in the day, like in ancient Greece or whatever, everybody, all of knowledge that they had considered relevant, like science and math or whatever, could be bound into a few sets of a few books. And there was a consideration to some that you could have all of the world's knowledge. And because there weren't things like social media, telephones, radio, media, television, or even like, you know, ways to get around like airplanes and stuff like that, you were kind of bound to a specific group of people in your lifetime. You knew a couple hundred people in your life. As of right now, I have 16,000 subscribers. So that means there are 16,000 people who have directly wanted to associate with my content in some way. And then my channel has overall around 1 million views. So that means 1 million times somebody has interacted with me. That was never even feasible at this time. So essentially what Aristotle had said was more or less that there was a right and wrong moral compass that could be consistent if the rhetor was effective in delivering it. Rhetor is the person who makes the conversation. That isn't possible anymore. Too many people, too many interactions, too many different cultures overlining, too much history, too many opinions that can be accessible. McIntyre is saying that is not possible anymore. And the best line of this, modern rhetorical advocates and audiences have lost their sense of individual moral coherence, right? So because morals aren't consistent anymore. Okay, so you think of something like I know it's gonna stir some feathers, but think of somebody like an evangelical Christian. Okay, they consider homosexuality to be an immoral act versus somebody who, like, such as myself, who's like, I guess, technically atheist, liberally type leftist, whatever. I don't consider that an issue at all. And I can have proof that it's not, in the same way that you can twist proof for the Christian doctrine to say that it is in fact a moral act. I can say as much as I want that it is objectively wrong to consider anybody in the LGBTQIA2S plus community to be immoral as a result of being part of that community, right? I can say that objectively that's not true, which is what I think. However, there is moral coherence in the Christian community of the evangelicals, I feel this way, that would argue otherwise. There is no consistent moral direction on anything. So you can see that in the comments, right? Where some people are like, this is undoubtedly assault. We're talking about Brooklynne and Sofia here. And other people being like, this is undoubtedly a miscommunication. Because morally, one of them is considering it a miscommunication probably because of like the age and the event and the way that there seems to be, like, Brooklynne seems to be wanting to reconcile. And versus another group that would be considering it like, well, no, immediately everything should have just stopped. And I don't know why anything was unclear. That's unacceptable. And in both of those feelings and those opinions, personal perceptions are coming into it, and likely anecdotes from people that they know. which would then shape a completely different moral direction. You're having two very opposing arguments to the same situation. People are going to fight tooth and nail for those. So then that's why you're getting that feeling that the audience owes it to you or whatever, which I just feel like is harming these people. Like, even if it's undoubtable, let's say that like Brooklynne assaulted Sofia, and that is the end of it. Just the forum of availability of the audience being able to comment things to Brooklynne is going to intensify that trauma. Like I say, we were never meant to interact with this many people. I think it's beautiful that we have, because you get so much art and so many different opinions and so many different theories, and people can learn so much about other people, but this is that downside. And this is why, and this is what's interesting with Rhetoric too, is that these things were unprecedented at the time. And that's kind of why I'm here a little bit, right? It's to kind of be like, well, here's how it shapes up in the modern age. People are also getting a bit of a moral superiority that their relationships were private and that they weren't put up online like this. I feel like many harmless situations, we're talking about, let's say, back to Sedona and Rylee, things that were considered harmless, such as, for example, Sedona hooking up with somebody when they were on a break, not the cheating part, but the other one, things that some could consider harmless and some could consider not, and that's probably happened in their life because nobody really knows about it. There can be like a moral superiority that comes through, and then they'll be the first to preach on it, right? That's another thing I find that happens online. Do I think the break and the hooking up was necessarily harmless? No. But I'm saying, like, these are things that happen, you know. Bad things happen in real life. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of, it was a whole weird situation. And then the fact that, like, my TikTok algorithm, like, all of a sudden just became all about hearing about these people. And I was, like, skipping, for a while, I was, like, skipping them on purpose. And then a friend of mine started sending them to me because she knows I make videos. And she's like, okay, but, like, this is weird. Like, how they're interacting with it is very weird. And then I started going into it a bit more. But to conclude, this video was not made to trigger anybody. It was not made to guilt trip. It was literally just, I want to encourage people to critically engage with situations and content, and critically engage how they evaluate with creators. Because there's always so much you don't know. You can never know the same or as much, you can never know as much or more than the people involved. So don't act like you do, because all you're going to do most of the time is make it worse. And perhaps realize that you're at a stage of life that victims and people who are having a really hard time, or people who are acting out of compassion or confusion or anxiety, need room to grow. These are teenagers. I hope the best for Brooklynne. I hope the best for everybody. I hope the best for Sofia in particular. I hope the best for Rylee and even Sedona to some extent. Brooklynne, I don't know, because I don't really know what happened. And I just hope that the situations can kind of grow to a place of growth and clarity for everybody, whether that's necessary, like, and whatever steps are necessary for that. So comment down below any content that you would like. I'm sorry that this was really heavy. I also have the email, like I mentioned before, links, Patreon, socials, all that kind of stuff down below. No goofy, silly TikTok at the end of this because this was too heavy. I hope you guys have a really good day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.